What is this life, if full of care, we have no time to stand and stare? No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. No time to see, when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. No time to see in broad daylight streams full of stars like skies at night. No time to turn at beauty's glance and watch her feet, how they can dance. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. A poor life this, if full of care. We have no time to stand and stare. I'm walking down a bridle path 5 minutes away from my house. Right now, as this is a purely audio podcast, what can I say? I'm old school. I'm going to try and paint a picture with words. It's July. We all survived that horrible heat wave at the end of June. And I know that we might have a bit more hot weather on the way, but right now it's beautifully temperate. It's about 24 degrees. I can hear crickets and cicadas, and all around me is maize. I'm very lucky that I live right near, a maize. It's not quite tall enough to get lost in just yet, and I'm a short boy, but it's about up to my hip. And strangely enough, a few weeks ago, I was actually out here in this very spot in a very different mood. So, first of all, if you're new to this podcast and you're listening and you're wondering what on earth is this all about, hi, I'm Joe, I'm the sketch poet, and what I do is I take poems that I really like and I read them and sometimes analyse them with varying degrees of accuracy in a place that I think really befits them. And it's been a while since my last episode. I've been very, very, very busy, and while nobody cares, I'll tell you a little bit as to why. Basically I'm a parent, and my little girl, who is 2.5 now, is absolutely wonderful, marvellous, beautiful, hilarious, but obviously takes up a lot of our time. And work has been very, very busy, and my main job, my real job, I'm a teacher. And we've had all the end of year exam fun, which you can imagine has taken away my sanity for a little bit. But today I've managed to carve out some time, and I feel deliciously sort of surreptitious just walking down this path on my own, surrounded by nothing but green fields of corn on either side, and cicadas buzzing at my ankles. The combination of all that extreme heat and some of the rain we had before that has meant that this corn has gone from, it was tiny little shoots in the ground about 3 weeks ago. I was down here at this exact point about 3 weeks ago, and it's now, as I said, above my hip. Actually, as I'm getting closer to this part where there's clearly not been as much shadow, this is getting right up to my shoulder length. I'm a little bit worried I'm going to see some aliens like that film Signs. We've got the usual other stuff as well: wildflower, Queen Anne's lace, hello Larkin, and of course briars, big old brambles. Blackberries not quite ready yet. Maybe give it another month and they'll be ripe for picking. So the poem that I'm doing for this episode is quite a good one to think of around this time of year. I think all of us, have never worked more than we have right now. And I know what you're going to say, the Victorians had it harder. Yes, they did. But I think the ability to log it off has become harder and harder to do. I mean, case in point, here I am in the middle of this field, and I still have my phone with me. What's that about? I should have left that at home. But if I'm totally honest, there's always that fear that you're going to get told something and you have to rush back. As it is, my girl's at nursery. My wife is working from home. It should be all good. But in any case, I've got it turned off. Not least so it doesn't interfere with the signal. But the poem focuses on really why can't we just stop for a minute? And I explored these themes a little bit last year with the brilliant Ros Barber with the poem How to Leave the World That Worships Should. And this poem obviously comes quite a bit before that, but it has the same sentiment in lots of ways. So I'm just going to stand right here at this little crossroads and just look around at all the corn sort of waving at me. A very slight breeze, but very, very pleasant. And unlike last week where you could barely breathe with the heat, this is a really nice, calming setting. Except for the sound of a couple of birds screeching each other down there. Will you shut up? So the poem was written by W.H Davies, Welsh poet, and it was first published in 1911. It's a very famous poem, really. It's one of those poems that I think a lot of people have probably seen or heard quoted. It has a similarity to it that I think certain poems like Rudyard Kipling's If have, where it becomes so quoted, so put into the public consciousness that it kind of loses a little bit of its power by being very much out there. But I'm going to just explore some of the images within it, because it starts with the question, what is this life? If full of care we have no time to stand and stare. I mean, let's just have a moment here. That could be a short poem all of its own. What a wonderfully expressed thought. And the idea of care. I think that word has a connotation really of, it can be such a good thing, to care for somebody, to care about things. And yet caring about things and caring for things is incredibly tiring. I'm very envious of people that don't care about things, although I personally believe that everyone cares about something. But I spend most of my life being frustrated or sad or pissed off because I care about something and it doesn't match my expectations. It's exhausting for me, for everyone else, but it is kind of just the way I am, and I've tried all sorts of things to see if I can take the edge off, but then I go, well, that's part of my essential being. The problem with it being like that, of course, is that you do miss out on these moments. This is a poem about mindfulness before mindfulness is really a thing. So here I am, and I'm stood, and you can probably hear the rustling of the corn. It's very seductive, this sort of lovely crisp sound here in the summer air. And yet I'm sure that most people, most adults can only allow themselves a few moments of reflection before they then must get on with the next thing. I'm no different to that. But the idea of care and to stand and stare, staring off into the distance, kind of thing which you sort of get told off for at school. Stop daydreaming, Riley. I remember being told that by my wonderful Year 5 teacher, who I sincerely hope had a bad accident at some point in her life, fell off a roof or something. Just this idea of focusing entirely on what's in front of you, never looking out the window, never thinking about the greater things in life, daydreaming. We talk about all that like it's a really bad thing. And it's really not. The imagination is this fertile field. And imagination should be something that we cherish. Okay, I'm sure it's very annoying, and I've been on the other side of the fence teaching kids that have absolutely no idea of what's going on. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it's just how their brain works. But also, we could all do with a little bit more being where your feet are, to stand and stare. It's not a passive act. It requires an active imagination. We have some examples. No time to stand beneath the boughs and stare as long as sheep and cows. And this repetition of the first line, known to us English teachers, of course, is anaphora. No time, no time, no time, no time. And that litany of no time, again, it speaks to how I've been feeling, definitely recently. And I'm sure some of you listening, I hope that this reaches you. The feeling of having no time. And it's definitely something that I think all parents can relate to. I remember when my little girl was born, suddenly it felt like time became a fast forward thing. It was happening quicker and quicker and quicker every day. And just yesterday, it felt like she was this tiny little babe in arms. And this morning, I pick her up briefly to get her in and out of the car, and I need to put my back out. And it won't be long before she won't even be going in that kind of car seat anymore. She'll be doing something else. And I think when you have a child, time feels like it just speeds up and speeds up and speeds up, because it then all becomes about them. For those of you without children, of course, I think time does speed up anyway a little bit as you get older. I reread a favourite Stephen King short story the other day called My Pretty Pony, which I'm not going to go into it because it needs to be read, but it's an old man talking to his grandson and telling him about how time ultimately, it can be like some sort of wild animal. You think you've got it tamed, and then it's off again. And there are times when it feels like things will never end. When you're a child, things feel very boring. Things stretch out in front of you. I'm bored, I want to go home, I don't want to do this, and da-da-da. And when you're an adult, you feel like, oh God, that's today? Christ, I better get my skates on. And then maybe, and I don't know, I'll find out, maybe when you become much older, time stretches again and feels very long, but maybe you're living in the past more than in the present. Now, I've done my fair share of CBT therapy over the years, anxiety stuff, grief. I'm very open about my mental health. I'm very open about talking about that, especially as a man. I think it's important that we do this. But I've had a rough old year. I've felt very, very low at times and found the time for self-care has just evaporated. If you don't make time for it, it won't happen. Much like today, I've been lamenting the fact that it's been a couple of months since the last episode, and I've even considered giving the whole thing up and saying, well, if I can't do it consistently, what's the point? But that's just not true. I've reached the end of this crossroad now, and to go beyond would be to be treading on the crops, but there's this wonderful little pattern in front of me. I wish you could see it. These little snowdrop-like flowers with pink in them. I'm afraid I have no botanical or horticultural knowledge to tell you what they are. But all I can say is they look absolutely stunning against this dark green grass that gives way to the fields beyond. Almost like a little scattering of ice amid all the warmth here. Off to the right of me are some dense woods. No time to see when woods we pass, where squirrels hide their nuts in grass. Sorry. Forgive me for being puerile, but I do imagine W.H. Davies sat there chortling to himself, writing that line in that particular way. Obviously, the pastoral imagery there and the wild woodland life imagery there is supposed to be taken seriously. But yeah, it's one of the reasons I find this poem quite hard to teach to a room full of teenage boys. Although I don't think they'd laugh at this these days. It's me, I'm the problem. No time to see in broad daylight, streams full of stars, like skies at night. I've always loved that line because of the inverse imagery. The way that a stream glitters in the sunlight. It has a little hint there of the sublime, the idea of the heavens being found in small little things like a stream or a brook. Almost like a mini version of Wordsworth's The Prelude, with the way that the moon is reflected in the water as he strokes his oars lustily. Sorry, I'm getting distracted again. And then we have this line which keeps bringing me back. No time to turn at beauty's glance, and watch her feet, how they can dance. Again, I can't help but think of my very energetic toddler who's just started to really sort of show that she definitely gets her dancing from her mum and not from her dad. But she's very, very energetic, and I also like the idea that beauty here is personified with the capital B, that we might see beauty fleetingly, and it dances, it's indistinct, it's ephemeral, but we can see it if we're looking for it. And I think that's really what it's supposed to mean. Beauty is all around us. Even me, and I live near Basingstoke. Beauty is all around us, and if we're prepared to actually stop and wait and stand and stare, we might see it. Whereas when you're barrelling up the road in your car on the way to work, wound up, annoyed, hurrying to work because you've had a bad night's sleep, because your kid's woken you up, and you're looking at your bank account and you've got not quite enough money to get through the last 2 weeks of the month, all these things, all this modern life that gets you down, there's still immense beauty all around you. But it sometimes takes some time off to be able to actually see it. And we continue with the beauty imagery here. No time to wait till her mouth can enrich that smile her eyes began. I think because a person's smile really does begin in their eyes, and a true smile is a beautiful thing. It's very hard to fake, and I think when you see someone has been made truly happy, it floods you with something very different. I think you can't fake some of those things, and really this could be seen as a bit of a poem about authenticity. All that other stuff, all the trappings and all the wealth, all the chasing of wealth, all of the efficiency, all the productivity, what's it all for? What's it all for if we can't make the people that we love smile? Some of you might know, I've mentioned it before, but I have a side job, even though I'm a teacher. I'm a singer, and I've been singing for years, but I only really started doing it professionally, in air quotes, last year. And, business is good. I get a lot of bookings, and I'm really enjoying honing my craft and getting better. But I noticed something in the past month or so, and that was that I was getting lots of bookings, and I was singing in a lot of places, and I was making some money, and I was enjoying being there and doing my thing. I've made it into something that I feel proud of. But nothing compared to a couple of weeks ago when it was Father's Day, and I was able to go to my little girl's nursery, and they had like a Father's Day stay and play thing, and I got a bit of time off work and went in and spent some time with her, and the smile she gave me when she saw me in that setting where she doesn't normally see me, that will live with me forever. And it's something that you can't, no amount of money can buy it. No amount of doing other things can sort of make up for that moment. It's truly a truly special thing. A poor life this, if full of care. We have no time to stand and stare. And the word poor there, the concept of richer, poorer, it's true. Money can buy you so much. And who knows, I think most people, given the choice, would rather have money than not. But it's like every year whenever I teach a Christmas carol and I talk about if you could have all of the money that you ever needed whenever you needed it and you never ever felt poverty again, but the trade-off was you couldn't have love, would you do it? And of course a lot of teenagers go, yeah, of course. But I don't think anybody really would be okay with that. There's something very, very, very special about being able to say, in this moment, and this is what part of the mindfulness approach is, in this moment I'm exactly where I need to be. And I think when you give yourself permission to be where your feet are, and to stand and stare, and breathe, your nervous system begins to thank you. So, I'll give you a small example of this right now. I'm just walking back up to the top of this little ridge here where my crossroads begin and end. And I had a very, very emotional moment here not that long ago. Like I said, it was Father's Day 3 weeks ago, and it was my father's anniversary of passing the week before, which is just one of those very unfortunate timings that I have to live with. I came here. I'd had a really, really bad day at work. I felt very overwhelmed, very tired. I got home. I felt like all I did was make my daughter upset, probably because I was radiating sadness. And I came here, as I so often do, because it's a bit of a vista, it's a spot. And I walked down the track I've just walked down and walked to that exact same spot. Obviously it was much cooler 3 weeks ago and the corn wasn't as high. And I stood and I wept. And all I wanted in that moment, was to give my dad a ring. And I wanted to give him a call, I wanted to see him, I wanted to give him a hug, I wanted to ask him all these questions. And I knew I couldn't, and it's strange because I knew that would come, yet I couldn't really do anything to avert it. And I think being here again 3 weeks on, there's something different now. I'm able to stop and I'm able to stare and I'm able to see what I think was really what I needed to see at the time. And that was that there's life and beauty everywhere if you're willing to stop and look and let it show itself to you. Because when I allow that into my life, I'm a better person to be around. I'm a happier person to be around. I can't do it all the time, but it's good that I can. And if you're someone that's going through anything of this nature, if you're somebody that's feeling that way, listen, you're not on your own. There are always people you can talk to, and you can always, please, if you're someone going through a bad time, you can always email me. My email's at the bottom of the podcast. I promise you I'll get back to you. I'm not a therapist. If you are really having a crisis, please do contact somebody urgently. But if you're just like me, and you're someone that's struggling a bit with the heaviness of life at time to time, I hope my voice and this poem offer some comfort. Find somewhere with a horizon. Find somewhere where there's greenery and the sound of nature, and stand and stare for as long as you can. I've been the Sketch Poet. I hope you have a wonderful rest of July.